Elesh Norn now leads Phyrexians in an all-out invasion across the entirety of the multiverse. No plane is safe. Planeswalkers fall to their overwhelming force, joining an enemy they once swore to defeat. This could very well be the beginning of the end for Magic the Gathering as we know it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today marks the beginning of the March of the Machine storyline, as Magic the Gathering prepares to launch a set with unbelievable consequences for the game's story. And we don't know just how many of our favorite heroes and planes will be lost in the carnage promised by New Phyrexia. If you want a recap of the story so far and how we got to this pivotal point, you can find a summary video for the Phyrexia All Will Be One story on your screen right now or linked in the description below. The TLDR version is this. The heroic planeswalkers of the Gatewatch hatched a scheme to infiltrate New Phyrexia and decimate their invasion tree, the very thing that would grant them access to an untold number of planes they could conquer. They would do this by using the Sylex at its base. They, however, underestimated their opponent as the Phyrexians were numerous and prepared. Many planeswalkers lost their lives and free will, becoming thralls to Elesh Norn's purpose. In the last act, we saw Jace Beleren using the Sylex, only to be stopped by Kaya and Elspeth. The invasion tree had already connected to the Blind Eternity. The Sylex Blast could have easily decimated countless worlds along with New Phyrexia, a cost they refused to bear. Jace was completed. Elspeth planeswalked the exploding Sylex to the emptiness of the Blind Eternity, and the remaining planeswalkers were left to face the realization that Elesh Norn had won and her invasions begun. Before we start with our March of the Machine story, please, if you enjoy our content here, consider supporting us by leaving this video a like, becoming a subscriber or member of the channel, and of course, sharing it with your friends. Now let's get into March of the Machine Chapter 1, Triumph of the Fleshless, written by K. Arsenault Rivera. 3 worms stood before Elesh Norn. Kaya, Kaito, and Tyvar they were called, the fear in their eyes begging for mercy. They were misguided. If they would only submit, she would erase their faults, but of course they would turn down her offer. There was no point in asking, just as there was no point in their resistance. All will be one, and it wouldn't be very long now. Elesh Norn tells the worms to stay with her and behold the glory of New Phyrexia. One shouts at her, another dares to step towards the Mother of Machines, but then the last pulls him back. Even when there were so few of them, the non-believers are never truly united. If only they could see that. Elesh Norn opened up 5 portals to alternate planes to show their skies pulsing red. Phyrexian symbols blazed among the clouds. She watched as the invasion tree Realmbreaker burst from the sky, its barbed limbs anchoring itself in each portal. Rivers of glistening oil ran into the earth while invasion pods took flight in perfect sync. The newly Phyrexianized planeswalker, one of her evangels, Jace Beleren, slips away, knowing what his Mother of Machines wants without any words. Atraxa and the other Phyrexian evangels, Luca, the human who can control animals, and Ajani, the Leonin warrior, arrive with the most recent member, Nahiri the Lithomancer, trailing behind them. Between them, they carried a bound and wriggling Sheoldred, whose insect-like armor had been removed to reveal a small, pathetic pretender. Elesh Norn looks back at the worms. They knew they were desperate to escape and launch a counterattack. Now that she had transcended death, it was amusing to watch the fleshbound look for a way out. At her command, Nahiri willed stones to spring from the ground, restraining the 3 imperfect planeswalkers. They would escape, but as prophets of their united future, telling their unbelieving brethren what they've seen. Sheoldred accused her of only caring about herself, wanting unity so others would conform to her mad ravings. Her cares were Phyrexia's cares. The Machine Orthodoxy's doctrine followed the Argent Etchings, as they demand to spread the glory of New Phyrexia. Sheoldred had always tried to stain the holy teachings, but there was no longer a place in Phyrexia for those who craved power over unity. Elesh Norn commanded Ajani to execute Sheoldred, who started to scream, but who was cut short by his axe. The Black Praetor's head bounced to Elesh Norn's feet as dark ichor smeared across her porcelain floor. Servants would remove and process the corpse. One mustn't waste perfectly good parts that would serve Phyrexia as Sheoldred could not. Elesh Norn turned towards her evangels, asking Nahiri where she was from. The core woman was born on Zendikar, like Nissa the elf, who possessed the finest gift any planeswalker could give New Phyrexia. She could steer Realmbreaker's branches. At Nissa's behest, the 5 portals shifted. Joining together, the images rippled and formed something new, something complete. She saw a lush ancient forest, elves among the branches of the towering trees, armed and waiting for something in the sky. The branches bent into Phyrexian shapes as 1,000 portals like Elesh Norn's stared down upon Zendikar. The image rippled again as Nissa showed her the skyclaves. The precise edges and stark white of the hedron surrounding the floating city struck her as beautiful. Elesh Norn sends Nahiri there, promising forces to join her, so they might acquire an ancient weapon they had once used to dominate the plane. Elesh Norn looked to see her prisoners had escaped, planeswalking away. She of course had counted on that, though it was a shame they turned away from such beauty. She then turns to Luca, who promised to bring the monsters of Ikoria into the fold, wanting the humans of his former home to cower before him. Elesh Norn, however, didn't like this answer. Humans already cower before New Phyrexia. Luca's red-aligned anger and bloodlust was dangerous. It lent itself to missteps the planeswalkers would surely use and take advantage of. She was sure Luca would always choose to settle a personal grievance over ensuring the completion of a plane. She sent Luca to Ikoria with a warning that he was no longer a creature of base instinct, but of a greater whole. Looking to Tamiyo, the Moonfolk scholar, she asked Nissa to show them Kamigawa. People walked the streets of the glittering city. No one was panicking. Perhaps they had accepted completion was nothing to fear, but more likely they just didn't suspect anything was coming. Tamiyo loved her family on Kamigawa, but she wanted them to know what she had discovered in the unity of Phyrexia. If they were all completed, they would never be apart ever again. Tamiyo was lost in thought, thinking about her former family, a family she should have replaced with the unity of New Phyrexia. Elesh Norn's orders to invade Kamigawa were left unanswered. Silence followed as Tamiyo watched Realmbreaker pierce the earth and collapse buildings. Elesh Norn repeats Tamiyo's name, but still silence. Atraxa takes flight, her wings covering the portal from view, reprimanding Tamiyo for her insolence. Tamiyo blinks, not knowing what came over her. Then, without hesitation, she left to take control of Kamigawa. Now Elesh Norn turns toward Ajani, not wanting him to go to his home plane, but rather to Theros. Instead of silence, there was understanding as he looked through the portal to see ships on the red waves sailing underneath the 2 guardian statues. As Realmbreaker's white branches gained purchase, marble crumbled and black oil streaked across the white. Winged constructs descended onto the ships where sailors' spears bounced off their metallic carapaces. Ajani knew she wouldn't be sending him there just to lead the forces that were already doing a fine job. He was far too clever, a trait that was too individual for Phyrexia. They saw Thassa, god of the sea, protecting her temple, fighting off Phyrexian ships with her bident. She wanted Ajani to bring the gods of Theros to harmonize with New Phyrexia. It was belief that made the gods on Theros. Ajani would take priests of the machine orthodoxy to preach from the Argent etchings and get the inhabitants to believe that all will be one. Ajani planeswalked away, ever loyal and clever, but didn't guess the real reason she sent him to Theros. She asked Nissa to show them New Capenna, a plane that had been attacked by Yawgmoth's Phyrexia during the first invasion. There was a golden gate with a haze that rendered all details fuzzy, the work of the angels that had sealed Phyrexia away from the plane's survivors. Fearing the truth, Capenna's angels gave up their physical forms to keep the citizens from unity. That all would end now with the angel of Elesh Norn's creation, accomplishing what their predecessors could not. Atraxa was to find and destroy the Halo Wellspring, the substance consisting of angels' ethereal forms, which was poisonous to Phyrexians. There was nothing left of Atraxa's original form except what was perfect, but her previous life as an angel of Mirrodin might lend her some protection from this vile substance, this Halo. There was a silence as Elesh Norn thought carefully about how to tell Atraxa the importance of her role. There was a danger in conquering New Capenna, as well as Theros, and that danger couldn't be allowed to triumph. Atraxa flew away, leaving Elesh Norn with Nissa, who was preoccupied with managing Realmbreaker. There was a silence that Elesh Norn loathes and quickly calls her attendants to recite her own teachings aloud. Their screeching would drown out her nightmares, and the woman cloaked in white who stalks them. Whoa, what a way to start off the story. Shockingly, one of the biggest gut punches comes with the death of Sheoldred. We always knew that Sheoldred was much more of an outsider to the Phyrexian cause, much like Urabrask. This praetor was tempted by other ambitions aside from Elesh Norn's grand unity, and so long as that was part of Sheoldred's personality, Elesh Norn had to cut it from her ranks, by cutting Sheoldred's head from her body. This is only the beginning. It seems there's a deeper plan now, even here during what should be the ultimate endgame. Elesh Norn knows of ways that she could fail, and looks to stop them, targeting namely the Halo of New Capenna and the Plane of Theros, as Elspeth Tirel stands as one of the last things Norn still really fears. Now the completed Planeswalkers go off to complete their former worlds. Luca to Ikoria, Tamio to Kamigawa, Nahiri to Zendikar, and so on. Will these former heroes find a small part of themselves back on their homes and wrestle free from Norn, or will they destroy what they once loved? That's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave this channel a like, become a member or subscriber, and of course, share it with your friends. It goes a long way in growing our community. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, guys, see ya!